Right, number 3, Max, 2016, we were hitting our stride. I think the partnership was working well. It was sort of, we knew what we were doing, right? And the one I chose for this year was about the biggest obstacle to innovation. And this is consistent, and I think this is true. The biggest obstacle to innovation is normally your own business, right? That corporate culture is so often the barrier to people actually being able to do the things. And for all the great work that we do at the Global Innovation Forum, all the great ideas that are spread, this comes back time and time again. And I'm convinced, IKEA actually in 2016, IKEA framed it as operational excellence and innovation are not the same skills. And I think that's so true. Businesses are built for efficiency. And, you know, again, innovation is fundamentally disruptive. You're trying to do things differently. So it's really hard. I mean, I think some of the lessons, and actually I'm going to talk about this in my opening for 2024, which goes beyond the sort of remit of our 10 years together. It's year number, well, it'd be the 11th time we've done it. But it's this idea of how do you actually start to shift the behaviours? How do you find ways to celebrate those little wins? How do you get the senior sponsorship? How do you, in this day and age where I think growth now has to come from innovation, how do you stop it being the startups and the challenger brands and start turning these big behemoths back into the kind of innovation powerhouses that they used to be? And they've lost that really. And I think, again, there's plenty of statistics from McKinsey that show maybe they've got margin growth, but actually real organic growing the category is ceasing. And it's a battle. Again, it comes back to why do you sort of have this rebel band of innovators? How can you take it beyond just a few people and start to make it everyone's business? Again, I think we've seen through the years people talking about how do you tap into the creativity of the whole workforce. Kickbox, Adobe Kickbox would be a great example of how do you give people license and permission to take the sparks that they have and then go and unleash it, and you sponsor that. We've had Tom Ellis from Lloyd's talking about entrepreneurship, and many of the banks actually have cottoned onto that. So I think there's so much that can be done, but you know, you've got to fight the corporate antibodies. You've got to, who are there, rightly so, legal, finance, you know, they're there saying, is this a good idea? Compliance and the like. But there has to be, I think, for real progress, for real innovation, not just playing at the margins, there has to be a way of shifting this up. What have been your takes out over the years?
I've been thinking about one thing I've heard in the past somebody say, but like the biggest killer to innovation in the corporate world being one sentence, and that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
That we see that like attendees would always be worried about what's happening in their own companies, rather than what the rest are doing. That's important, but how do we shift our culture? And I'm thinking about last time or the year before we did this exercise of people choosing their teams that are closest to their heart and interest, and there was like culture and AI and something else, and then we had like 60% of people going into culture.
Yes.
For an obvious reason. That's the biggest concern for them. It's something they're mostly worried about.
No, it's so true, and I think maybe it's more than culture. I think it's about how you shift that behaviour. I do think social proof. So, psychologist Robert Cialdini, who's again lots of great thinking on this, and one is how actually we like to follow the crowd. And I think if we can get people to do better jobs of pointing out competitors doing things, or people that they see as industry thought leaders doing things, then you can start to get over it. But really you need the leadership. You need the leadership buy-in. You need the incentive models. You need to stop disincentivizing failure, because you know then it becomes more than my job's worth again. But you're so right. This is the way we've always done it. That should be like an absolute to any innovator out there. It should be like you've struck gold. That is bound to be an opportunity there. So let's kind of ban that for the future and start to really figure out how we can question those things. And I'll go back to Gil Horsky, who I'm not sure whether it was this year or one of the, he's spoken a couple of times, that said, we have t-shirts in our innovation team and it says, fire me. Go ahead, I think it is. Go ahead, fire me. And I make sure we have to wear that kind of once a year at least. And that idea of you've got to actually be brave. And there may be a point where somebody says, yeah, look, you are just too disruptive, but you know, you're probably not right for that business and you will find opportunity elsewhere. That's our role. And again, back to that special community, that's where we can support one another in these things.